there's two aspects to reality. There's the non-physical world, there's the metaphysical world, there's the spiritual world, there's the non-tangible world, and then there's the physical reality. There's the reality that's solid, that's tangible, that's real. And what I notice is that when it comes to the process of manifesting your reality into existence, when we can harmonize both of these energies into one, when you can balance being versus doing, when you can balance the masculine and the feminine, and you can merge these realities, you can honor your humanness, but also be aligned with the divine. You can be aligned with the divine, but still use your logical mind. When we can align with the divine, but still use our logical mind and actually use it for the tool that it is, not be consumed by dysfunctional fears, what's going to start to happen is that, at least in my experience, you're going to start manifesting all the things you want. More opportunities are going to start coming your way. You're going to start attracting more friendships that are in alignment with your heart, the right relationships, the right mentors, the more, financial abundance. There's going to be more financial abundance that comes your way in the form of some sort of opportunity or whatever it is that you want to manifest. It's much easier to manifest our reality when we can harmonize the two forces at play here, the metaphysical and the physical. And I'm going to be sharing with you how to bring these two energies together, how to harmonize these two aspects of reality and allow you to be in perfect union with the oneness of all that is, to be in alignment with the flow of the river, with the universe, to still do the things you have to do, still take the actions you need to take, but be in harmony with the oneness of life. And use this to manifest your reality into existence and live the life that you truly want to live. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell because I do post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, the link will be in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation to see if you're a good fit for the coaching program to work with me personally one-on-one. Also, I have a group program coming up in the next couple of months. So if you want more details on the program and if you want to be a part of the program, the link will be in the description box of the video as well. The program is starting soon. Enrollment is closing soon. So if you want to be a part of the program, definitely click the link that's in the description box of this video to check that out. Now, what's the first thing that we can do to merge the physical and the spiritual world to manifest your reality? How can we merge the physical world with the spiritual world to manifest your reality? The first thing you can do is understand that they're both always happening at once. There's never a separation. It's not like, oh, there's just spirituality and then there's the physical world. And sometimes there's one and sometimes there's the other. No, there's always a metaphysical aspect to anything that is physical, and there's always a physical aspect to anything that is non-physical. I don't know if I said that right. The physical always has metaphysical, the metaphysical always has physical, and vice versa. And what we can do is we can understand that there's always both. So no matter what's happening in your life, no matter how spiritual you become, if you're on planet Earth, you still are a human being. All right, unless you've transcended this human body and ascended to a whole new realm, okay, I'll see you in that realm. But if you're on Earth, you still are a human being. And this is where manifestation can be blocked for a lot of people because they dishonor their humanness. We can develop what some people call a spiritual ego, where you become so spiritual that now you're attached to the identity of being spiritual, which means that, I can't be taking actions because that's not a spiritual thing to do. Now, I'll never tell somebody to take an action that's out of alignment with their heart. So if we start to feel exhausted, it doesn't mean that to honor your humanness, we need to be exhausted and drained and work really hard to manifest our reality. But it does still mean you're a human being and you might need to take action. But action has a negative connotation in the spiritual context, because when you become spiritual, there's a negative, like, sometimes people can associate a negative connotation with action taking, but the way that I perceive action is it's just energy in motion. Everything's always in motion. Me recording this video is a form of action. Me picking up the phone to talk with somebody is a form of action. Okay, my mentor says action is transformation. And it's true. And it's not to say that you need to work hard and, be this, like, there's a time and place to work hard. I'm not saying that action isn't a thing, but what I found is that when we're in harmony, we can understand that there's both happening at once. And we can harmonize, we can understand that there's a spiritual side to us that doesn't need anything, doesn't need anybody. You're totally independent. You're totally in a non-needy state of not needing anybody, because you're connected to the formless divine consciousness that needs nothing, needs nobody, has no attachment, and is totally free. But to say that's just how reality is would dishonor the fact that you're a human being with very real needs. You have needs as a human, right? As a tangible physical human. You have emotional needs, you have physical needs. You have the needs to connect with other people. Now it's not, you could transcend those needs to some degree and not need them as much, but it's like at the end of the day, no matter how spiritual I become, I still prefer, for example, to eat food and water so I can live, right? I'll pass on transcending food and water, for now at least. Maybe one day we'll transcend it, I don't know. And sometimes it's not even a need, it's just working with humans to make your life better. How about thriving? It's like, for example, do you want to cut your own hair, or do you want to go to the barber and get a skilled professional that can cut your hair for you, right? You don't need that barber, but why would you cut your own hair if you can get a skilled professional that can cut your hair for you? Your life's going to be a lot easier that way when you can get somebody to work with you, and we can work together as human beings. You still got to eat food, you still got to eat water. You didn't build your apartment building. Think about it like this. The fact that you are watching this video right now, that you're able to be in your house or your apartment or wherever you live right now, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you're able to watch this video right now and learn about this spiritual content to ascend all physical needs because of the fact that humans worked together to build this platform on YouTube, to build the apartment building that you live in right now, and you're able to transcend your physical self and be spiritual because of this connection that humans had with each other. I want you to really let that sink in. You're able to watch this video right now because humans came together, built the apartment you live in or the house, built the internet, built YouTube as a platform, put it all together, and now you're watching this video. How powerful is that? That's humans, that's the physical, we come together as one race and build things together, manipulate, control, it's all part of reality. But it's when it can become dysfunctional is when it starts to become an issue, when it creates suffering as well. So what the thing that I want you to understand is that there's always happening at once, and that the metaphysical side of reality is just as important as the physical, right? Just understand, this is such a deep topic, and it's there's probably so many questions that come to mind when I start saying this, but the first step is just understand that they're both happening at once. I always like to go one step at a time in my videos, because as I speak, it's oh, well then what does this mean? What does that mean? You probably have a million questions. I get you. Let's just hold on for a second. Just keep in mind the first step to this process is that there's always both happening. No matter how spiritual you become, you're still a human being. No matter how physical you become and how dense you want to live your life, you're also still connected to the divine no matter what happens, right? There's everything happening in divine order. Just all happening now, time doesn't exist. Now, what's the second thing you can do? Understand that honoring your human desires is so powerful. Some spiritual people think, oh, it's not spiritual for me to own the fact that I want more money, or to own the fact that I want this relationship, or to own the fact that I want this thing in my life. Some people come to me for one-on-one consultation and they want certain things. They want a relationship, they want this, and they expect me to be the spiritual guru, and they don't do this. I don't judge anybody, but sometimes people have this expectation that like, oh, Francis is going to tell me that I shouldn't go after the relationship because all the spirituality that I need is within me, and actually the relationship won't fulfill anything, so why go after it? Now that's true to a certain extent. All attachment does lead to suffering. Chasing things outside of you will lead to suffering. But if a person wants a relationship and they've never had one before, there's nothing wrong with going after a relationship and going after that fully. And it's not just a rationalization to be like, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, just do it anyways. No, actually, not only is it okay, it might be a completely necessary part of that person's journey so they can get to the highest levels of consciousness and connect to who they truly are. Maybe unless that person goes out and goes after the human desires, they'll never get to the highest level of spirituality that is within them. So sometimes owning your desires fully, that some people might consider to be egotistical, is the quickest path to enlightenment. And in fact, not going after a desire because you think it's spiritual is your own spiritual ego. So there's more ego in not going after your desire because you're too spiritual for that, which is an idea and an identity that you're attached to, which is ego. All attachment to any story, including spiritual content, is egotistical. Not in like a personal way, because this is not personal. Egotistical equals attaching to identity. And then when we can honor your human desires, what begins to happen is that might be the quickest path to step into your power and connect to the spiritual divineness within you. Spiritual divineness. All right, I just made it up right now. Spiritual divineness within you. And so here's the key. Honor your desires, but don't use it as an excuse to be an egotistical maniac where you become totally attached. Like, oh, Francis said, own your desires. I don't need to be spiritual. And then you start to become this dysfunctional ego that's totally attached. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying go after your desires, but do it with consciousness. Do it with consciousness. Do it with awareness. You want to go eat fast food? You want to go after a relationship? I don't want to put those two things together because relationships are beautiful. I don't want to put it in the same category as fast food. But sometimes the people have desires that they want to go after, and they repress those desires because they think, oh, it's not the spiritual thing to do. But the thing, what I've learned in my life is that the more I try to control my life and to control my bad habits and to control everything in my life, the more that I hold on to those things that aren't serving me. But the more that I can let the patterns come up as they need to, but with full 100% consciousness and awareness, that is when things begin to fix themselves. That's when the negative, toxic relationships fall out of my life almost by magic. The bad habits that I had to deal with for years, yeah, it took a lot of work, meditation. And it's like, but it's like, yeah, it took a lot of work, but from like a meta perspective, it almost happened like magic. The work was learning to surrender. And that took a little bit of will at first. But then eventually it becomes like, not will, it becomes just like letting go. And then what happens is that the more that I can just, okay, if I want to go do something, just go do it. Go after it. You want to make money? Go after it. It's not even a bad thing. I don't want to say it in a way where it's like, oh, okay, it's this bad thing that the person's going to do for now until they become spiritual. That's not how I want it to sound. You get to a certain level, so to speak. Again, even that can sound super egotistical, where you realize that nothing is not spiritual. Everything is spiritual. Everything leads to the source. And the more that you repress what your humanness wants, and the more that you do it in an unconscious way, you're slowing down your spiritual progress. Sometimes just going after what you desire in a very conscious way, in a way that's totally in alignment with consciousness and the divine in your heart, going after your heart's values, owning your material desires, owning your sexual desires if you have them, owning whatever you want to create, and do it with consciousness. That is the fastest path to live the life you want. And to live a life that is peaceful. That is what I've come to realize in my life. Own your human desires. Own the life you want to create. If you want to start a business, go after it. Don't stop yourself because you think it's not spiritual. This is how you merge the spiritual with the physical. You do what you want to do when you want to do it, but you do it with, and you can't lie to yourself here. You actually have to be conscious as you can. Be as present as you can. Be truly conscious. Be truly present. Go after what you want, but honestly tell yourself, am I conscious while I'm doing this? Am I in alignment with presence? Am I in alignment with being present to the moment? Am I in alignment with consciousness and the divine while I'm doing this? Because at some level, there's no such thing as good or bad. It's just what's happening now with no judgment. Life's still going to carry on. Things are still going to happen. But you're going to be coming from a divine place. Everything is divine. Everything is divine. Now, from a relative human perspective, it's like, for instance, what's divine about, like, you know, doing this thing? Like, oh, like, for example, some people might think that, like, you know, going clubbing or something is not spiritual, for example, right? Now, personally, I don't go clubbing these days because I used to go a lot, and it's just not something that's in alignment with what I feel like to do right now. But am I closed off to that reality forever? No. What if randomly I want to go clubbing? Maybe I'll go, but I don't think so for a while because I went through the process of realizing that certain things lower my frequency. Now, it's not a judgment upon anything to say that this is good or this is bad, but if I didn't go through certain things in my life, through certain toxic relationships, or if I didn't do the things that I wanted, and believe me, I went hard. I really went clubbing. I didn't just go clubbing, like I went clubbing, you know? And that sounds egotistical, but it's like I really went all in with what I wanted. But I did it, I remember doing it consciously, right? I remember meditating through the process of going after what I wanted. And eventually it's just like, hey, I don't feel like clubbing anymore. It's almost like you need to burn out the karma that your ego wants a certain thing. Yeah, all attachment leads to suffering. It's true. The more that you chase things outside of you for happiness, you will suffer. But if you're just to know that logically and not go after what you want to create, it's almost like you're missing the point of life. The point of life is to find peace within yourself, yes. But the point of life is also to experience contrast and go through the lessons that your personal, unique soul wants to go through and experience life. Without the suffering of a human being, there's no contrast to get to peace. The reason you can get to peace and get to enlightenment is because you are a human being that suffers and goes through the petty human ego desires. And there's nothing wrong with experiencing life. But if you want to do it in alignment with spirituality, do it consciously. It's so simple. It's so simple. All you have to do is own what you want fully, but do it with full consciousness and presence. It's that simple. Now, the third thing you can do to honor both aspects of this reality, both the physical and the spiritual, is to always trust your intuition. You've heard me talk about this. The more that I tap into alignment with who I truly am, I'm realizing more and more and more that this reality is energetic. This is not a physical reality. It is a physical reality, but there's also a deep intuition in my heart where I can sense if I'm in alignment with the flow state, if I'm in alignment with my higher self, if I'm doing what it is that I'm meant to be doing in that moment. And so I always trust my feelings. I always trust my feelings. Always. Always. If I feel like something's out of alignment, I will listen to my intuition now. It took me so long to get to the conclusion where I don't care what my mind says. I don't care what a person says. Nothing can go against my intuition. And every time I do, my frequency gets lower, things become harder, and life starts to become more difficult. Less things manifest. Don't take my word for it. Test it for yourself. But the third way to do this process of tapping into the physical and the spiritual both at once to manifest your reality is to trust in your feelings, but also use logic, actual logic. Now, what do I mean when I say actual logic? What I mean logic, what I'm talking about when I use the word logic is very simply doing the next thing you have to be doing as a human being. So maybe you need to go fold the laundry. Maybe you need to go record that video. I'm speaking, all the examples I give are going to be in alignment with like what I do, but it might be different for you. Sometimes I need to fold the laundry. Sometimes I need to record the video. Sometimes I might even have to schedule a call from the present moment, from that energy. In fact, the more that I trust my feelings, the more organized they become. The more that I trust my feelings, my house is cleaner, my schedule is more on point. The people that I need to attract in my life to live the life that I want comes in. My life becomes more orderly the more that I trust in my feminine energy. Wow, what an insight. The more that I trust in my feminine, the more masculine I become as well. Because you're healing the part of you that's afraid to let go. If you can't let go, how can you be a powerful masculine spirit in the world? How can you be a full expressive masculine if you don't know how to integrate your feminine and vice versa? So what do I mean when I say actual logic? I'm talking about folding the laundry, doing this. What I'm not talking about is the dysfunctional fear that most people live in, and they use that fear and they call it logic, when really they're just scared shitless to live their life purpose, to live what they really want, right? People are gonna say, oh, be like, as you follow your true path, so to speak, in your heart, the people that never learn to follow their heart, maybe your family, maybe your friends, the people that have not followed their heart are going to tell you to be realistic, quote unquote real. Oh, you can't follow your heart. You can't trust your feelings. You have to be realistic. Be realistic. That's what your family will tell you. That's what, I mean, if they haven't stepped into their heart. Maybe that's what your friends will tell you. And they think that's being logical. No, worrying 20 years into the future and having this like very dysfunctional fear, that's so the person's always in fear, like they've never grounded themselves, and they're just like always living in fear. It's like, oh, I'm scared of this, scared of that. You call, the person calls their friends, they complain about every single thing. You ever have that family member that always has this need to call up their friend and complain about everything that's happening in their life? And they're not where you want to be, and they're always scared. They're not living their life. They're not living their best life. They're living a life that they hate, that they'll never admit to themselves, because in order to live in pain, we have to lie to ourselves. So they're living a lie, they're in fear, they're scared to live life, and then they tell you to be realistic when you trust your heart. And you're using actual logic. And say, Francis, well, what do you mean? But you're being illogical when you trust your heart, right? It's interesting because the more that I follow my heart, the more logical I become. Like I become very effective at making very rational choices when I'm completely in my non-logical mind. What? How does that work, Francis? Because when you become a clear channel for the divine, you're gonna know what action to take. This is what you call aligned action. It's action that comes from an inspiration from the divine. It's just the regular logic. Eat food, drink water, do this, do that. That's it, that's logic. Most people think that living in fear is logic. No, that's not logic. That's living in fear and lying to yourself and being realistic when really the person's too afraid to live their life and to live their best life. So the key is to trust your feelings, but still be logical. Logic is, am I gonna have a place? When I was dropping out of school, for example, and I decided to start my YouTube channel and start living into what I consider to be my purpose, and start my business, and start what I want to do for a living, start what I love to do. It was a scary choice to make, or at least what the thoughts were making it scary. Being in the actuality of it was not scary. But then I was living in this space where I was I was thinking about how scary it was going to be. And then when I actually started to really go deeper into myself, what I realized was actually, what's the logic here? Am I going to be homeless? No. Am I going to have food and water to drink? Yes. Is my mom going to kick me out if I go fully into my purpose and drop out of school? No. I was super grateful for that. Super grateful for that. Not everybody has that luxury, but I was very honored and very grateful to have a space to do that. But you see, that's the logic. But don't get me wrong, there was a lot of challenges that came up with my family. There was objections, there was screaming, there was arguments, there was all that darkness coming up to the surface because I was following what my inner heart wanted to follow. And then all the fears that were within me and within my family and my dad and all these people and then my sister and all these things came up to the surface. All that negative energy was brought up. It was a rocky road. But I knew that I was going to be fine. You see, that's logic. I wasn't afraid of all the objections, all the stuff happening. I was willing to face that dead on from a high frequency because I knew logically that I was fine. That's logic. Logic is, do you have food? Do you have water? Logic is just survival. You see, the problem is that we put our frequency in survival-based mindsets and emotions when you're totally protected. Now, it's not to bash logic. It's a very normal function to have. It keeps you alive. But the problem is that we overly use our logic and we think we're in survival when you're going to be just fine if you trust your heart. Most of the time, at least. And I can't make that call for you. I can't tell you it's all going to be fine. That's where you need to use your common sense. But be honest with yourself. Is it common sense or are you living in fear? That's the question you want to ask yourself. If you tune into the present moment, you become totally fearless. Ask yourself this question. What would I do right now if I was completely fearless? If I had no fear, how would I live my life? That's the question you want to ask yourself. And the more that you can live from that space, the more that you're going to be trusting your heart, living in alignment with the divine, but still doing what needs to be done logically as well. So the more that you can do this, you can trust your heart, but still use the common sense from an honest place of knowing that you're not lying to yourself and being overly logical, living in fear. Try not to live your dream life. Try not to manifest your dream life when you're living from that space of being connected with your humanness, but trusting the divine and trusting in your feelings and trusting in your intuition. It's like impossible to not manifest your reality if you're aligned with the physical and the spiritual. It's like, in my experience, it's like it can't not happen. I don't know how else to say it. Like it's hard for me to communicate this, but it's like some people might disagree with that, and that maybe there's some things that just, I don't know. To me, it's very, I'm not gonna say that it's going to happen, but the more that I balance my energies, it's very unlikely that the things you desire will not happen and won't manifest into existence. So merge these two things together and start to see how your reality begins to change. How all the things you want to manifest start to come into your life. And all the things that you truly desire start to come into your life effortlessly And you can take those bold actions, but still honor your humanness and honor the fact that you have needs that need to be met to survive, but then align that truth of the fact that you're human with the divine energy of life. And watch how your reality begins to shift and your desires begin to manifest when you can live from that space. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any experience with trusting your intuition, using logic, and seeing how your reality begins to shift. So that's all I have for this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation. Also, I do have a group program coming up in the next couple of months. So if you want more details on the program, and if you want to be a part of the program, the link will be in the description box of this video as well. As always, have yourself a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.